Welcome back, people. I'm Double Six. Welcome to my channel, Money, Cars, Women and Children, where I teach mostly men how to become more deadly and more dangerous. This is part of my Black Families Matters series of episodes where I'm going to tell you all about my adventures and trials and tribulations of navigating and beating the family court system. This is episode 4, and this is where the war starts. So stay tuned and I'll tell you all about it on the other side. So welcome back, I'm Double Six, and this is episode 4 of Black Families Matter, and this is where the war starts. This is where I compounded all of my mistakes. All of my mistakes get compounded onto one day. And I've told you in previous episodes that life can only be understood in reverse, but it has to be lived forwards. And hindsight is 2020 retrospect vision, man. But looking back on things now, I know all of the mistakes that I made started on this day. And I'm gonna fill you in on this day because this day is the family court hearing number 1. And this is the day, this is the second most saddest day that I had in all of these experiences. I had another sad day, but this was the second most saddest day. But this is the day when I got the cattle prod in my ass. And I remember coming into this situation. I've explained to you, I had a non-molestation order served on me and I went to court. I was a litigant in person, and mother was on her own, Pam was on her own representing herself at that hearing. Then I started to get another court application paperwork through the door which says I had another hearing, which I think was May, and it was a child arrangements order hearing. No evidence is in the documentation, just a letter to say you've got to turn up. I think it was the 18th of May or something like that, 2018. Remember, I got the non-molestation order served on me March 31st or something like that, and now I've got a child arrangements order hearing. And I remember talking to my gran and saying, boy, I've got this hearing, it's about the children. At that time now, I'm like trying to see the children, still can't see the children, going to the school. I've been arrested like twice. I've decided, like, you know what, I'm just gonna try and just get access to the children, try and stay away from the baby mum. Remember, the system's on me now. The police are on me now. I've been arrested twice for alleged breaches of non-molestation order. One of them I think was smiling at mum in the playground. Another one I think was sending her a text message, something about the children, but they construed it to be threatening. I can't even remember, but it was a piece of piss allegations, PISS allegations, keep it clean. But now I've got the first hearing, and I remember talking to my gran and I said, well, I don't want to go in there all lawyered up to fight against Pam, because I'm saying she's my children's mum at the end of the day, and I don't want to look like I'm going full force against her and go and hire out big lawyers and try to fight against her. I said to my gran, I'm just gonna turn up in person. It can't be anything too drastic. I said at the end of the day, I'm a good dad. She knows I'm a good dad, and maybe she's just trying to formalize the arrangements of seeing the children. Like maybe she just wants to like let the court decide like who's my day, what's your day. She didn't want to communicate with me. As I said, I understand more about women now, how after the breakup they just can't cope with dealing with you. So I thought that this was just another avenue of her just not wanting to negotiate with me personally, but wanting to kind of formalize the court order, the contact arrangement. So I said to my gran, I'm not going to turn up with no lawyers and say anything bad about her. I'm going to keep it clean, and hopefully we can just sort out access to the children. That's what I'm thinking. Boom. So I think by that time, the school are involved. The school are making statements against me. The school are kind of siding with mum. I get a phone call from a social worker, and the social worker has a phone call conversation with me, about 25 minutes long. I'm just giving her the basic details. We split up. Mum doesn't want to give me contact to the children. I didn't understand back then that mum just didn't want to deal, just didn't want to see my face dealing with the breakup. That's what I believe anyway, looking back at it now. My opinions will change on the summary as these episodes go forward, but just looking back at it now, that's my general advice to men, is just after the breakup, give these women some space. They don't process things like us, they don't think like us. That's not a bad thing. You just have to understand that certain times women just need some space. Don't chase them down. Don't chase down the children because they're not going to be able to cope with it. Some women, or maybe the woman in this case, so maybe this is a single case scenario, but I don't think it is. I think that you just need to give these women some space post breakup, and had I have given her that 6-month space for the non-molestation order period, I wouldn't have been in half of the problems that I was in. But I still thought I could chase down the children because I thought right was on my side. But this ain't got ish to do with what's right or what's wrong. So I'm turning up to the first hearing, I've got no lawyer. But what I do decide to get is a Mckenzie friend. I don't know, it's about 350 quid for a Mckenzie friend, right? It's just someone who just, you know, can sit down with you. He knows what court to go to, what courtroom to go to, what application forms to fill out, what little forms to fill out. So I just said, all right, I'm going to hire one of these Mckenzie friends. It's a man like me who just knows how to navigate the court system. He just helps you on the day. Maybe if your case is simple, I would still advise to get a Mckenzie friend because they were pretty decent, and he holds your hand kind of before the hearing and gives you a phone call or two, and he meets you on the day. It's just someone independent who's a friendly face with you in a kind of daunting system when you're in the system. It's just a friendly face to have. I agree, Mckenzie friends are good. If you can find one in the early parts of your case and your case isn't a complex case, then a Mckenzie friend is good. So I turn up with my Mckenzie friend, but he can't talk to the court. He can't say anything to the court. All he can really do is just whisper in my shoulder and tell me, shut your mouth, don't say this, don't say that. He's got no right of counsel, C-O-U-N-S-E-L, not counsel as in local authority, but he's got no right to talk to the judge, only a barrister does. So on the day of the court hearing now, this is when all of the sheggery compounds, all of my lack of knowledge of the system, this is when it all kind of gets mixed into one cake. It all goes into one bowl, yeah? One big bowl of CARP, one big bowl of rubbish, yeah, of brown, smelly rubbish. This cake mix, all of my lack of understanding, all goes into one big bowl and bakes a cake for me on this day. And this was the first hearing, the first FHEDRA hearing. That was 2018. Now, because of COVID, I don't think they do FHEDRA hearings. I think they just kind of discharge the elements, what they do in FHEDRA hearings now, virtually. And this is when kind of people get involved. Now, when I got to the first hearing, I tell you how it goes from I remember it like this. Mum walks in with a barrister, yeah, some grey man, and his name was Robert Tresman. Oh my God, from Staple Inn Chambers. This man is a piece of rubbish. I want to keep it clean, but he's a piece of S-H-I-T. And this European man, all he wanted to do, all his aim was is to get paid and break up black families. Black families matter, but not to this man, Robert Tresman. He's a wicked man, a wicked piece of man. And these lawyers are wicked, some of them. They're not interested in keeping black families together. They're just interested in taking advantage of vulnerable women in an emotional state. This is what they're interested in, taking advantage and getting paid of women in a vulnerable emotional state, and they got no regard for the black family. It's like they take pleasure in breaking up black families. So boom, bam, we're into the first hearing now, and it's with a legal advisor, not a judge. For FHEDRA hearing, judge basically says, you know, Mum, what do you want to do? Mum says, well, I want to give Dad contact. This is what Mum said, truly. She said, I want to give Dad contact back to the children. We just want to formalize what is going on, and I don't want him to harass me or pester me or come anywhere near me. I'm rolling my eyes like, what are you talking about, harass and pester? You're bright. Nobody wants to harass and pester you. But I'm thinking, all right, this is kind of cool. So the judge then says, not the judge, the legal advisor, she says, well, I have in my hand this document, and what are we going to do about this document? So I'm like, what document? And the other party, the barrister's like, right, what document? So the barrister says, Mr. Tresman, he says, I don't even call him Mr. Tresman, yeah? Punk Tresman. He says, can I have time to read that document, madam? Yeah, can I have time? I've never seen the document. I don't even know what the judge is holding up. So she says, okay, we're going to recess for 30 minutes, 15 minutes, and we'll come back. So they don't give me the document. They only give a copy to the barrister. Remember, they're not dealing with you as a litigant in person. They're only going to deal with the barrister. Always remember that, yeah, until you're a seasoned professional, yeah? Once you're a Joe Bloggs idiot litigant in person, judge is always going to deal with the other party's barrister just because they're the professional in the room. So they go away, they come back 30 minutes later. Punk Tresman walks in from Staple Inn Chambers, yeah? Punk Tresman walks in and he says, madam, based on reading the document, mother offers no contact to the children from father. And I'm like, what? No contact? And he says, practice direction 12J would be invoked in this circumstance, and to protect the vulnerable, we offer no contact based on this document. So I'm like, what kind of document is this? What is this? I have no idea what this document is. So when you kind of now, you're like, no contact. So the mother's offering no contact. So I'm like, what are you talking about no contact? I haven't seen my kids in like a couple months now. This is like June. I haven't seen the children from like March or something like that, from when I got the non-molestation order. So I'm fighting now to see my kids. I'm vexed now. So I'm like, what do you mean no contact? So then now the CAFCASS officer kicks in, and the CAFCASS officer says, yes, madam, having read said document, which is an early years help assessment from Lambeth Council, authored by Vivian Neary, which was a social worker at the time from Lambeth Council, CAFCASS supports the view of mother to offer no contact to the children by the father until such and such and such. So I'm just sitting there going, what the hell is happening here? What kind of documents is this that I have never seen? What is all this about now, where people are reading some kind of document and now I can't see my children? So mother initially offered me contact. The first thing they said when they walked into the room, judge holds up this paperwork, legal advisor, handbag crew, what we call them, yeah? The legal advisors, they're just like the legal advisors. I think they're volunteers, yeah? People with not much to do with their time, but nosy in people business. So the handbag lady's like, okay, no contact. CAFCASS are now saying, based on the same document, no contact. So you're kind of coming out of court now, and you're gonna get slapped with court order. So looking at that now, as I said, you got to live life in retrospect, and life can only be lived backward. It can only be understood backwards, but it has to be lived forwards. So looking at this now, when you get disclosure, you know, which I'll explain to you a bit more with the documents further down the line, I can start to see the applications that were put in to get these court orders. So this is a C100 application that's put in by mother to get a child arrangements order. And I'm just gonna take you guys through this as quickly and as coherently as I can. Just basically on the first page, what we see here is kind of the reasons why at a high level mother wants to apply for a child arrangements order. And when you look, it asks for a prohibitive steps order. I should have put these in little squares, but just on the left square, kind of halfway down the page, it says prohibitive steps order, preventing the respondent from removing the children from my care and control or a third party controlled within their care, child arrangements order, and a live with order. So I don't know none of these things. I don't even know what they were at the time, but this is what was happening. But I'm going to give you some other things. It says concerns about risk of harm. So this is the first page of the child arrangements order. And it says concerns about risks of harm, which is on the right hand side. And it says, are you alleging that the children named in section 1 of the form have experienced or are at risk of experiencing harm in any form? It says any form of the best domestic abuse. Yes. So just follow. So concerns about risk of harm. And it says any form of domestic abuse, and there's a tick yes. Child abduction, and there's a tick yes. Child abuse, no. Drugs, alcohol, substance abuse, no. Any other safety concerns, yes. So this is the application form that goes in prior to the child arrangements hearing, the first hearing. So just going down through that now, looking at, you should basically have a mediation before you can apply for child arrangements order. And what the system allows women to do, and that's why I say the system, and I'm here blaming the system and I'm not blaming women, it allows them to circumvent mediation if they claim that domestic violence issues are alleged. So you're not supposed to go and waste the court's time with your trivial family matters unless there are, serious allegations of domestic abuse. But if there are allegations of domestic abuse, then you can just tick that box and you don't have to go to mediation. It's a complete waste of time. Like, what's the point in having mediation if the system allows you to just circumvent the whole process of mediation by ticking one little box to say, yes, there's domestic violence, there's domestic abuse that's being alleged, and that's it. Then you just get nyam. So you can kind of see where people are allowed to circumvent the system. Now, going back now to the actual court order. So this is the court order that you get, that I got. Let me just interact with this here, right? This is the court order that I got after the first hearing. And as I said, this is where all my pile of crap, the whole cake, yeah? The crap cake was baked and I had to eat the crap cake now. And this is the first hearing, what you get, and this is what the court orders look like. You bet you're gonna get, I had about 25 of these court orders, so get used to it. But this is where I started to understand how much work Pam had put in the background, but also how much work the system supported her and allowed her to drive the wedge between mother and father, where only the children suffer. So the system at no point sat Pam down and said, you know what, the best thing is to have the father in the children's life. The best thing is to try to find a way to work with the father. The system just said, you don't want to see the father, you don't want to have nothing to do with the father because you're hurting inside, you've just had a breakup, you're hurting inside. Well, here what we're going to do, we're going to support you. We're not going to support you to keep that family together. We're going to support your rights as a woman not to have this man around you, but by virtue of not having him around you, he's not around your children. But they don't seem to add that 1 + 1 up. When you support the woman not to have the man around in her life, which is her right, which you say, by virtue of that, you don't have the father in the children's lives. And when the children grow older, all they're gonna do without no father is get tied up in the criminal justice system, turn handbag snatcher, turn mobile phone thief on the road outside the train station. So we're not interested in that. But you just have to understand now that when you're looking now at the items that went into me not getting contact, you got to start to look and say, hold on a minute, yeah? It says, you're just looking at the basis of how the handbag lady made her court order. And you got to start to understand in retrospect. And it says, basically the first line up here in blue, the mother submitting that she was also content with making of the Section 7 order, which is Lambeth Council. I didn't even know there was a Section 7 report that had been filed. And that mother had made 2 separate complaints to the police of breaches of the said non-molestation order. So by this time, mum is reporting me for breaches of the non-molestation order. I'm getting tied up left, right, and center. Getting tied up, not understanding what's going on in this system, not understanding. So now police reports are being shown to the handbag lady, to the legal advisor, and they're in support of breaches of a non-molestation order. So you're just looking rugged all over the place, you know, in front of this legal advisor. And it says, and having disclosed matters alleging domestic abuse against her of violence to her by the father in front of the children. So mum's alleged now that I've had violence. This is what the report said that they had in their hand, and the Section 7 report, that mother had alleged domestic violence and domestic abuse. I didn't even know. I haven't even seen the report by that time. This is just the paperwork I'm getting after the fact. So looking back to cut in, so now mother has now then alleged, so it now says council, yeah, that punk Tresman, yeah. So mother's now disclosed alleged domestic abuse and domestic violence that I had no aware of in this so-called document that was held up to the court. So this is the court order that I'm getting now, which kind of shows me what was in that document. It says, and counsel for the mother, after viewing the documents, having so objected, but noting that child 1, son 1, had made direct complaints to a third party regarding father, and therefore the mother supported the CAFCASS view of no contact in the interim between children and father. So mother was kind of cool to give me contact at the start of the hearing. But once the system starts to say, hold on a minute, we've got some other documents here that say that father should have nothing to do with these children. Instead of mother saying, bruh, I don't agree with them documents, you know, whatever them documents say can't be true because I know him to be a good dad and I came in here to offer him some form of contact. No. Mother just sits there and lets the system take over. So the barrister's taking over now, legal advisors taking over, CAFCASS officers taking over, and they're saying there's all of these details that the children have made third-party disclosure about. And I'm like, third-party disclosure, what the hell is going on? I'm sitting there like a fish out of water, like an idiot. And then now you've got to start to look at all the documents that come together. So it says mother submitted on 14th of March. That is an application. That is a court bundle. I didn't even know what a court bundle was at that time. Looking at documents that the legal advisors used to make her decision. There was a Lambeth Early Years Help Assessment, May 2018. I'd never seen that. There was a positive child psychology report. Didn't know what the hell that was for my eldest son from someone, June the 22nd second. I didn't know what that was. And there was a letter from the primary school. So the school of my son was involved, giving me a damning letter. So the school is involved. And then the legal advisor had the amended non-molestation order, what I got clapped with in 2 months previous. And that was it, man. Everything was against me at that point. I was some fool. You have to understand, yeah, that after that, this second box here on the right, the recital just basically means that the court couldn't order any contact that I wanted, and mother wasn't offering any contact. So I'm tied up now. I'm literally tied up. Mother's not offering any contact. If I go anywhere near her, she's reporting me to the police. By that time, I've been arrested like 2-3 times already, and I'm just circling the drain. Then now it gets even more deeper, where I'm saying, well, I don't believe none of these domestic violence. I need to see this report. I need to challenge what's going on now. It's time to get serious now. Then now the legal advisor in the third last box says that mother has to set out her allegations of domestic abuse in something called a Scots schedule, which is basically just a list of domestic abuse, and they limit it to 6. I'm like, 6? There shouldn't even be 1 on there, but limited to 6, like there's more than 6, but they just limited to 6. And then it says they want to list physical and emotional abuse concerning son 1 limited to 6 as well. And I'm like, 6 limited? I'm there thinking, what the hell is going on? Like, limited to 6. So that's 12 allegations of domestic abuse clapped against me in this document. So what I have to tell you is, now the war is on. And I'll say it again. When I left that court hearing, and I couldn't see my children now, that's when the war is on. But let me speak slow. The war is not against the woman, because she is just in an emotionally low place. Try not to war against your woman. Don't be phoning her, pressuring her, stressing her, phoning her family, phoning her friends, stressing everybody out. Stay away from the woman. Stay away from the woman. The war is with the system now. This is when I switch on. This is when I'm realizing nobody don't care about you being a good dad. Nobody don't care about wishy-washy allegations of sheggery. Nobody don't care that the allegations are some rubbish. Nobody don't care. I'm like, now I've got to put my boxing gloves on. I've got to strap on my boots, and I've got to go to war with the system, because I realize now Mum wanted to offer me contact. Mum was the same mum that knew the truth, that knew what really happened between us. Mum knew that, but the system took over. Punk Robert Tresman from Staple Inn Chambers, he abused the system. The social workers abused the system. The CAFCASS officer wasn't really interested in anything I had to say. They abused the system. The handbag legal advisor, they abused the system. They're all part of the system to break up black families, and the war was on. And I'm gonna tell you now in my next episode how I start now to fight back against the system, and it's gonna be a downhill roller coaster ride on. Let me tell you how I fight back the system to get back my children, to get back access to my children. So stay tuned for another episode, and I think that episode is episode 5, so watch out for the next one. Easy.